welcome into this edition of the GASOCAST. I'm your host, Ryan Massett, and I'm joined by Blues Ritucci and Michael Timmons. Before you watch this video, make sure you're following us on social media at Texas Hoops Gaso, at Texas Hoops CD, and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're about to have a bunch of content come out. We just did our San Antonio Fall Classic GASOCAST. Mr. Timmons is going to throw out some game recaps of the notable games from last weekend. And then we have tons of Tops in Texas content coming out. We had a lot of great players, and we're going to get to actually talking about them in this episode. But before we do that, we want to hit on news and notes. Brendan Hausen just announced his commitment to Villanova. Awesome fit. Blue, you have been a Brendan Hausen truther from the beginning. Expand on the commitment. Big deal, man.
It is a big deal. I mean, Villanova, who plays a different style of basketball than most across the country, came in, pinpointed, came to the Great American Shootout back in July to watch him play in the first open period, and they went after him hard. Jay Wright saw him, from what I was told by the Hausen family, and he was just consistently wanting Brendan's commitment. And I think that just shows you what a kid from Amarillo, out west, how he has caught the eye and the attention of national media, and of course the nation and who was recruiting him. I mean, just a great shooter, a guy that's going to be dependable, I believe, every night. If he's not knocking down a shot, he's going to lead a team with his voice and being he's going to lead by example. And he has shown a lot I know that you followed him a lot, especially on the EYBL circuit yourself.
Yeah, I know obviously Villanova was interested before the EYBL, but I do think that how he played in the EYBL cemented, this all coming together, because he was, like you said, reliable, averaged almost 20 points a game, shot it really well from the three-point line. And, I mean, that's the national stage that you want to be on. So credit to him and his camp for, because they were going to kind of play with themselves. But I think joining the EYBL Team Griffin allowed them these opportunities, along with him and some other guys from Amarillo that will sign or commit pretty soon.
Yeah, and just from a coaching perspective, Villanova runs 4 out, 1 in. They run out a lot of 5 out, and they have a lot of 6'4" to about 6'6" guards. And he fits that role perfectly. They can all stretch the floor. They all make great decisions. They have guys like Brendan on their team every year. So I think it's just a fantastic fit. And I'm really excited for him and the likes of what he's going to become in the years to come.
Absolutely. And before we hop into our Tops in Texas notable players, I just want to give a quick shout out to the state of Texas, all the different event directors. We just finished our Fall Gaso Classic in San Antonio, and I think that we're starting to see that a lot of event directors are putting on events all over the state, and credit to the event directors, credit to the high school coaches. Everybody just wants to play right now. We've come into San Antonio a week after Alamo City. Buff's doing some great stuff in Dallas, along with Sloan doing Dallas and Houston. There's enough basketball for everybody, and I just want to shout out to everybody that's created a platform to make sure that these kids have the opportunity to play and get early, minutes.
Yeah. And next week, RCS has their Super 16, which is always a fan favorite to go to and to watch more of a bracket style type basketball in preseason.
No, for sure.
With that being said, we're going to move right into our San Antonio Tops in Texas. Like I said earlier, tons of talent there. A guy who just talent jumps off the page, Macaulay Roberts, Winston Churchill. We saw him on Saturday as well as Sunday. Thought he had a great event. He looks the part.
Oh, everything. And this is the Tops in Texas is meant for a kid just like him that can get a little bit of spacing and wide open transition buckets. He is athletically may have been the bestest pure athlete in being able to dominate around the rim.
Yeah, when I talk to parents that book highlights at our Tops in Texas, I always let them know in this type of setting, if you play with energy, you're going to have more opportunities for highlights and more opportunities to just make plays. So with Mikhali, he does that obviously. You see the energy, but when you add the freakish athleticism, he's catching lobs off the backboard. He stands out even more to add that energy plus athleticism. And it's no fluke. Even into the third game, he was still running the floor just like the first game. So credit to him in that motor, and like a kid that we saw 2 days in a row. I think that's what I really like to see, a kid that plays on the Saturday with his high school team and comes and brings that same effort. So as us as evaluators, we see, okay, it wasn't just one different setting. He looks the same in both settings.
Zach Gomez, New Braunfels. I saw this guy play in the summer at one of our Great American Shootouts. Then he came to Thompson, Texas yesterday, and he picked up just where he left off. He shoots it so well. He's electric in pick and roll because if you go under the screen, he has unlimited range. He's like 5'7", but I mean, I saw him go for 25 in one of the games yesterday. Just an electric scorer. Love watching these little guys that come in and understand how to take angles, when to get shots off, and have to use their brain to really outthink some of these bigger, more athletic guys. So Zach Gomez was a fun watch for me at the Thompson, Texas.
Yeah, what I like about Zach, one, like 5'7", 5'8", quick release is one thing I look for in a small guard. He knows how to shoot it quickly when he knows where his space is at and gets it. What I love about him is once he shoots, and he hit plenty of threes this week, it's never backpedal, get back on defense after you hit a shot. It's I'm picking you up literally 94 feet. He will run up to the inbound, start calling out who's guarding who, bouncing around. That's what you need in your lead guard. And I was impressed with him. His shot didn't fall as much Saturday with New Braunfels, but I mean, he made 15, maybe 23 pointers the next day.
It's ridiculous.
So yeah, he's definitely a spark plug for that offense, New Braunfels.
Yeah, and speaking of shooters, we jump into Aiden Shaw from Alamo Heights. He's sitting there at about 6'3", 6'4", great looking body. He was really running his lanes very hard, catching, shooting, good release. Very smart with the ball when he got it in certain situations, and maybe he was too far in the corner or he saw some defense coming at him. He got the ball out of his hands. I'm very intrigued with his size and overall play that I can't wait to see Alamo Heights once we get into the season, or to specifically go watch Aiden Shaw. I mean, he's a 2023, so he has some upside there going for him.
There you go, Locke Cunningham. I'm gonna bring him up. He fits that Westlake mold. He does it all. I've seen him compete before, but yesterday he really took like this leadership role of a bunch of guys that he doesn't know, and his team was playing extremely hard and kind of embodied what he does. And just that type of prospect, when you have all the intangibles to go along with all the things that he does on the court, shoot it, gets to the rim, defends, gets a lot of rebounds, those intangibles are going to take you a long way. I love the way Locke competes, and that whole Westlake team, we talked about him on our last one, they just compete. I love how hard he goes. In these open camp settings, you don't get that often.
Yeah, and there was not a weird energy, but those kids were like trying to foul with time left. It went into overtime. Locke ended up hitting a game winner, but those guys didn't want to end it. And even, that court was even a little bit behind, and Sam was like, you know what? Overtime, sudden death, let them play it through. And like the stands were rocking, and like you said, Locke was a big part of why the energy was there, because he got those guys to compete. And that's something we also look for when we're watching these kids. A lot of times we know what the kid can do, but you put him in a different environment, you see how they lead, and he was really leading this weekend.
There was a lot of really good competition because we had a lot of close games. We even had some coaches call some timeouts so the last second.
Yeah.
But going back to Locke, I think he really produced over the weekend because of the confidence of in a little bit of a different role that he plays for Rouse and Westlake. That he can come into the setting and be a little bit more free. And here you can realize I can show a little bit more. When you're with your high school team, you're going to run your system, you're going to do what your coach says, and he's the perfect example of, I'm with Westlake, this is the way I'm going to play, and a little bit of the top in Texas, I got a little bit of freedom. Let me kind of add to my resume of how I'm going to look moving forward.
And one guy I want to talk about, Eric Brown from Cibolo Steele, another kid that when he walks on the court, he just kind of looks different, and he looks like he's a little more polished than the others. You add the athleticism, was windmill and dunking and stuff like that. He already has the skill set from the Saturday with Cibolo Steele in our fall high school classic. He can score from all three levels. And I think with him, he didn't come out here trying to do too much. He just did what he's really good at, and he dominated every single game that he played at. And it just shows a maturity level for a 2022 prospect to still out here. I think his recruitment's going to still continue to build because he has broad shoulders, a nice frame. But I just think I saw the maturity and the knowing that, hey, this is my game and I know I can go out here and do it against all the guys I'm playing against. That's what I liked about him.
One thing that we always try to stress in our office when we're talking to college coaches is when they want to go into San Antonio, you make a call to head coach Lonnie Hubbard over at Cibolo Steele, because he always has a guard. It's a little bit of a guard factor. We can go back to the past histories of the guards that have gone through there.
But
Eric, And Eric is in that mold that where he needs to get his recruitment pick up. It's not because of his lack of play. It's just that people need to go in there and really see what he's worth, because, like you said, he scores from all three levels. He gives you a little bit of variety on both ends of the court, which is very, very important. And he can be a dominant scorer, and he's going to be among the best right there in San Antonio.
College ready body right away for sure.
Braedon Biggott, a name I want to talk about. He caught the eye of 3 or 4 different evaluators.
Well, we were all, I'll cut you off. We were all 3 sitting at the table, and you're like, Biggott just made a nice little move over there. And I'm like, yeah, and he just did another one right there, and he just over and over again, he really took over that specific game that we were all sitting there together, had about 25, almost 30 points.
Yeah, and I saw him in Austin, and he had, it looked like he had a flat tire, like he was playing hurt, but he was like kind of limping around and still kind of producing. And I wanted to see him when he was fully healthy. He does it all. He just gets it done. He shoots threes. He was out there pressuring. A lanky body, still kind of developing physically, but has a great feel for the game, can really, really shoot the ball. And another guy who just gets in the lane, makes good decisions. You're never gonna get in trouble with him with the ball.
Nothing looks forced with him. It looks very natural. I think he spends a lot of time on the court. His dad's a former college coach, and so he gets pushed a lot, but everything just looks natural because he's always on the court practicing, and he's a guy that's going to be able to knock down shots, to handle it. I really like his game, and I think that he has elevated himself, I think, a little bit after this weekend. Even though we sit here and say, yeah, some guys, the open court setting, maybe a little bit looser, but I think through our experience, we know what we're looking for. We have a little bit of a trained eye of what that next step is for some of these players, and I love what could happen over the next couple of years in his upside. Yeah,
and I'll bring up now Cole Andrews Heitz from Leander Rouse. One kid that I've really started to like over this past summer. He played with Lockdown's 2023 team. The one thing I'll say is, like I said, everybody comes to these events, and I want to see how you adjust to things. Cole's the type of player that really knows how to make the right decision from the lead guard. He never tries to do too much. So in the first game, if you look at his stats, not that we did stats, but if you look at how many shots he took, he was just kind of out there facilitating. And I know his dad talked to him after the game. He was like, hey, this is a showcase. Like, you can be a little more aggressive. Go try to work on some things. And he exploded in that second game.
Yeah, 6 straight possessions, 6 straight buckets.
It's like they couldn't do anything with them. The other team's defense was like, what are y'all doing? Guard this kid. And he was hitting the 3 and getting to the rim. What I like about him now is he's about 6'6", not too much of a stocky guard, but he knows how to. He's starting to work on his body, knowing how to
can't knock him off his line. Yeah,
and he's starting to finish through that contact. So it's just one of those things that I like to see a prospect who I already was very intrigued with start to really figure things out and understand the setting he's in. Just because when you go to the next level, it may not be like it's not going to be like your high school. It's not going to be like your AAU team. So I like to see kids that can adjust to the environment they're in, and I think he really did that.
It's funny that you say that simply because I watched him and I always thought of him as like just a facilitator, good decision maker, can knock down the open 3. Yesterday he was getting to it off the bounce, creating space, getting people on his hip and bumping them and getting the and one. He was really impressive yesterday. I really enjoyed watching him. Let's move into Marc Eyman, San Antonio Christian. He's another guy that caught the eye of a lot of people. Real smooth. He has the ability to get inside and score. He can knock down shots off the dribble. I really, really enjoyed watching him.
Yeah, I thought he had a very, very explosive first step. I mean, he was going at the defense. He was going straight at him, making a move one way or another, pulling up. He has a very soft, easygoing shot from that 12 to 15 foot range. And I thought that he really hit some key buckets for his team, being a lead guard, a ball handler. Just did it all, and a couple times got up and went up to finish. And I think that he, talking about him, we can lead into Henry Sanchez of Coperras Cove. Very similar prospect. He could really scan the floor. He would get the ball, and he would get in the middle of the court and push it and look to see what angle he was going to take, or if there was somebody running the lanes and cutting the basket. I went back to kind of look at the lineup from Coperras Cove who came to play on Saturday at GASOCAST Classic. He's a varsity guy, and there's a reason for that. He's going to be able to produce at that high school level and really give them a lot of scoring punch, I believe, over at Coperras Cove.
Absolutely. Kenton Wright came in from R.L. Turner in Dallas. Seen him a couple times, and he really shined at this event. He very big, strong body, can get downhill, can finish through contact, and then he can play that point guard role. He also showed off a little bit of athleticism in the open floor when he went up and got a couple Dunks, I really like the prospects of Kenton just as a whole, just with the body and how he sees the floor and how he can score it.
And he showed that he could be physical with the ball. When he wasn't really putting the ball in the hole, what was he doing? He was giving the ball up. He was setting up his teammate. And that's sometimes that's kind of hard to do. So give Kenton a lot of credit just getting on the court with guys that he's not familiar with, especially from South Central Texas. You got a guy coming in from the Metroplex saying, hey, you know what, I kind of want to show the state a little bit of who I am. And I thought he was very productive overall. And I think that he's a guy that really is on the way up because of that body, the strength. He needs to use that to his advantage at all times, especially here in the Metroplex, to really start climbing that ladder. And I think that he has a lot of ability to do that.
Yeah, well, let's move on to Donovan Gomez from Converse Judson. One thing that stands out about this kid is the confidence. You know, he's a big-time scorer, loves the big-time moments. You know, a comp that I want to kind of create is another kid formerly from out of the San Antonio area, Juan Reyna, who went up to Duncanville. Both of these kids had that knack for wanting to hit the big shot. Donovan Gomez, I think, impressed Saturday and Sunday, first with Converse Judson and some big games they played in, and Sunday at the Tops of Texas. One thing that stood out about me is he's a willing defender, which, you know, he moves his feet well. And what I liked today that I saw Sunday and Saturday was he was able to attack and get to his spots on the floor. He wasn't just a knockdown shooter. He can put the ball on the floor. He knows what he's doing with it, knows where his angles are. So I was really impressed with him.
Absolutely. Another guy who kind of plays that multiple role just in different settings. We saw Kevin Garcia on Saturday playing kind of wingman to Austin Nunez with a couple other guys. And then Sunday, he comes out, and that's what Texas is for. We get to see him play a different role, and he was a bit more aggressive. He put the ball on the floor, and he knocked down threes. I really enjoyed watching Kevin Garcia in that expanded role.
I'm very intrigued by his overall game. How high that Kevin can go, you know, that's where I'm, as an evaluator, is trying to figure out. But he knocks down shots. He'll take the ball, like you said, and just be the lead guard, to be the guy that's going to make a play. Whether it's with the crisp pass going through the middle of the defense, or, you know what, just pulling up and knocking down a three-pointer. I like the way that he tries to position himself when he runs the lane and gets open, just catch and shoot. He always wants into that pocket and get that quick release. But you're talking about a 6'3", 6'4" guy that's hungry to be on that court. And he's going to, I think we all feel that he's going to do really big things at Wagner's. He's going to be part of that focal point on the offense.
Caden Rizzo. I had seen a little bit of him in the summer, and he was just purely catch and shoot in the game that I saw in Austin. And then I see him yesterday, and he's attacking. He's knocking down shots. He's doing a couple things different than what a spot-up shooter might be. So he made a jump for me just in my eyes of like what he's actually capable of doing with the ball in his hands.
No, I saw him at last year's Tops of Texas, and I really walked away from him seeing that he was a really good passer. The pick and roll, it just shows me what his IQ was, and I always like to see something like you say. He already can be a knockdown shooter. What else can he add to his game? And I think he's slowly starting to, as we see these kids work out through the ranks, they get older, you start to see them put on the right way. They start to be more physical, just more confident, and like you see them take a next step at our Tops of Texas events because they stand out a little bit more. They know how to be more assertive, and that's what he showed this weekend to me. Maturity
level goes a long way too. I mean, talking to his dad, thinking that he was going to be a football player, be one of the key quarterbacks, or be part of some type of run at San Antonio Johnson. He picks basketball. Now he's full-time basketball. Here's his time now to show this is where I'm at right now, and this is where I'm going to be. And just by having more court time and, you know, knock down shots, you want to get that guy an open look because it's going to go in.
Another guy we want to hit on, Aiden Purdue, Katie. He's got the body, he's got the athleticism. He's continuing to improve. We've seen him at this event actually the last couple of years, and he's turned into a man, and he's finishing everything around the rim.
I think that was the key. You saw a little bit of spring around the basket. You saw more of an athleticism, and he's a guy that can play with the back to the basket, do a little bit of face up in the short corners. Obviously, you want him, like you said, with that big physical body going to rebound, and that's what he did. I thought I was very impressed with his rebounding and his ability to really get up and get above the rim. Yeah. And then kind of looking at from Grapevine Faith making the trip, the 4.5-hour trip, which we appreciate, was Ben Rotella from Grapevine Faith. really poised, smart ball handler, could get the ball in the bucket from deep with NBA range. And the thing about Grapevine Faith, as we've seen before, they take a lot of threes, and his system that he will play in for Matt Saman, the head coach, is perfect for him, and Ben really showed a lot of catch and shoot ability, or just driving the ball up court, and you know what, boom, pulling from about 22 feet up and drilling those 3-pointers. Very fun player to watch, a part of the system, and was a very easy transition over to the Tops in Texas.
Yeah, him and Grant Ring will be a fun backcourt at Grapevine Faith for sure.
I would have died to play in a system like that. I do want to hit on Josiah Moseley too. Just his length, his size, his ability to finish. He has a older brother, John Eric, and they're both just nice little combo. I don't know. Stony Point is going to be very intriguing with some guys that they have next year.
Josiah he's this long arm, looks like it's dragging past his knees, and this wingspan, looks like a little baby face, and then all of a sudden he goes out there and he plays at a different level.
Yeah.
And he will go and rebound, just snatching the ball off the rim, and turn around, running the court. A lot of good instincts around the basket, because you kind of see when it's open, when that middle's open, what is he doing? He's going off 2 feet and finishing. Very, very intriguing prospect that I can't wait to keep an eye on and kind of see as we go through the season.
Absolutely. That's going to wrap up this San Antonio Tops in Texas GASOcast. We just want to thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're following us on social media at Texas Hoops Gaso and then at Texas Hoops TV. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.